Welcome to Senior Relationship After 60. Here's a truth that might surprise you. According to recent surveys, nearly 1 in 3 people over the age of 60 in the United States say their sex life is actually more satisfying now than it was when they were younger. Yes, you heard that right, more fulfilling, more connected, and in many cases more exciting. That goes against everything society tends to assume about aging, doesn't it? We've been conditioned to believe passion belongs only to the young, but the reality is far different. So what's going on here? Why is it that men and women who once thought their most passionate days were behind them are now experiencing a renaissance in love, intimacy, and desire? What are they doing differently? And perhaps more importantly, what can you learn from their secrets to strengthen or even reignite your own connections? It's not just about the physical side of intimacy. It's about emotional freedom. When you cross into your 60s, many of the pressures that weighed heavily in earlier decades, careers, raising kids, financial stress, the rush of proving yourself, begin to fade. In their place comes something far more powerful: time, clarity, and the wisdom to appreciate intimacy without all the distractions. Couples who once felt disconnected are finding each other again. Singles who once feared they'd spend the rest of their life alone are discovering companionship in unexpected places. And here's the part that makes this journey even more fascinating. This isn't just a small trend, it's happening across the country. From senior communities in Florida to social clubs in California, from quiet coffee shop meetups to online senior dating apps, people in their 60s and beyond are writing a brand new script for what love and passion look like later in life. But before we dive deeper into the secrets behind this rediscovery, I need your help. Pause for just a moment and tap that like button. I know it might seem like a small thing, but here's the truth. Every single like tells YouTube that seniors' voices, stories, and experiences deserve to be heard. It pushes this conversation into the spotlight, where it can reach someone who might need a reminder that they're not too old for intimacy, romance, or love. So don't let this message stay hidden. Hit that like button now, and let's shine a light on the powerful, beautiful truth that intimacy after 60 is not just alive, it's thriving. Lucinda Ray. Even her name carries the weight of a story. At 67, she had lived through 2 marriages, raised a daughter who now had a family of her own, and spent decades singing in Chicago's smoky jazz clubs. Her voice had once filled entire rooms, commanding the attention of strangers and turning silence into applause. But when retirement arrived and the stage lights dimmed, Lucinda found herself unprepared for what came next. Quiet. The applause faded, the schedules vanished, and suddenly she was left with long stretches of empty time. More unsettling than the silence itself was the question that lingered in her mind. Had the world quietly decided she no longer mattered? She described the feeling as becoming invisible, not in her own eyes, but in the way the world responded to her. At the grocery store, clerks no longer looked up. On busy sidewalks, younger people brushed past her as though she were a fixture rather than a person. Even at family gatherings, surrounded by people who loved her, she sometimes felt less like a participant and more like an old photograph, present but overlooked. The loneliness crept in quietly, and it weighed heavier than she imagined. Days seemed slower, nights stretched longer, and the golden memories of her past only made her present feel dimmer. And yet, Lucinda was not a woman who gave up easily. That spark of resilience that once carried her through late-night performances and unpredictable crowds still lived inside her. One evening, in a moment of resolve, she decided to attend a local senior dance event. She wasn't searching for love. She was searching for life. She wanted to hear music again, to let her body move, to remind herself that she was still more than her solitude. That night she met Harold, a widower in his early 70s. Harold was nothing like the men she once thought she'd be drawn to. He wasn't flashy, he didn't know a thing about jazz, and he had no stage presence. But he possessed something rarer: gentleness. When he asked her to dance, she hesitated, afraid she had forgotten how. Yet the moment his hand touched hers, something stirred deep within her. It wasn't just a dance. It was a reminder that she was still seen, still valued, and still alive. Later, Lucinda would say the shock wasn't that Harold noticed her. The real surprise was how quickly her own heart awakened. After years of assuming her romantic chapter was closed, here she was, laughing at his stories, smiling when their eyes met, and rediscovering a warmth she thought had slipped away for good. What happened next in Lucinda's journey didn't just change her life. It may change the way you think about intimacy after 60. Because what she found with Harold challenges almost every stereotype about love in later life. It proves that passion doesn't end with age. It simply begins to play a new, richer melody. The big myth breaker. Society has a way of whispering things into our ears. Subtle messages that, over time, become beliefs we rarely question. One of the loudest of these whispers is the idea that passion, romance, and intimacy fade once you pass 60. You've probably heard it before. At that age, people just don't care about sex anymore, or romance is for the young. But here's the truth. Those ideas are myths. And not just small exaggerations. They are deeply misleading, robbing countless seniors of the chance to embrace love and intimacy in its most meaningful form. The myth goes something like this. As bodies age, the spark of desire burns out. Energy slows down, routines become rigid, and the thrill of connection fades into the background. People are told to expect less from love, as if intimacy is simply one more door that closes with age. This stereotype is so common that many seniors begin to believe it themselves, settling into loneliness not because they want to, but because they think it's normal. But here's the reality, one that research and real-life stories keep confirming. Intimacy after 60 doesn't disappear. It transforms. And often, it transforms into something richer than ever before. Couples in their later years often describe their physical and emotional connections as deeper, freer, and surprisingly adventurous. Why? Because the weight of earlier life, the pressure to impress, the fear of judgment, the distractions of careers and raising children, has finally lifted. What's left is a kind of intimacy rooted not in proving something, but in sharing something. For many seniors, passion after 60 is no longer about rushing. It's about savoring. Touches linger. Conversations matter. Emotional connection takes center stage. And physical intimacy becomes more about creativity, comfort, and exploration than about rigid expectations. Ironically, by letting go of the myths about what intimacy should look like, seniors often find themselves enjoying it more than they ever did in their youth. And this is where the myth crumbles. Romance doesn't vanish, it evolves. While bodies may change, hearts, minds, and spirits often grow bolder, wiser, and more open to love than ever before. In fact, surveys show that many older adults report increased satisfaction in their intimate lives, not less. That's because intimacy after 60 isn't a copy of youth. It's a new chapter altogether. Now let's pause for a moment. Have you noticed your own connections shifting in this way? Maybe intimacy feels different now. Slower but sweeter. Less about performance, more about meaning. If so, share your experience in the comments below. Your story might just inspire someone else to let go of the myth and embrace the reality. That passion doesn't fade with age. It matures, deepens, and in many cases, becomes even more fulfilling. The secret ingredients of senior intimacy. When people think about intimacy after 60, the conversation too often stops at limitations. What can't be done, what's no longer the same. But that view misses something much more powerful. The hidden ingredients that make later life intimacy unique, meaningful, and in many ways, more rewarding than in youth. Let's pull back the curtain and talk about 3 insights you won't hear in most conversations about senior romance. 1. Emotional foreplay matters more. For younger couples, intimacy is often rushed. Life is busy, schedules are full, and connection can become hurried. But for seniors, intimacy blossoms in the slower moments, the quiet rituals that build anticipation long before physical touch happens. Emotional foreplay is the gentle squeeze of a hand while walking together, the playful laughter while cooking dinner, or the comfort of a warm hug on a chilly evening. These small gestures signal love and desire in ways words never can. Seniors often rediscover that true intimacy begins in the heart and mind, not just the body. And when you value these softer sparks, the flame burns brighter when the moment finally comes. 2. The health plus love connection. Science now shows what many seniors have always known instinctively. A loving relationship doesn't just make life sweeter, it makes it healthier. Studies reveal that seniors in emotionally and physically intimate relationships often have lower blood pressure, stronger immune systems, and even longer lifespans. Better sleep, reduced stress, and improved mental health all flow from the presence of love and closeness. Intimacy after 60 isn't just about romance. It's medicine for the soul and body. Think of it as a natural prescription, one written not in ink, but in touch, trust, and companionship. 3. Technology as Cupid. It may sound surprising, but smartphones and laptops are quietly rewriting the love stories of seniors. Online communities, dating apps designed for older adults, and even simple platforms like Zoom or Facebook Messenger are creating new pathways for connection. Technology breaks down barriers of distance and isolation, giving seniors opportunities to meet people they might never have encountered otherwise. Lucinda Ray is a perfect example. When the world shut down during lockdown, she didn't let loneliness win. She used Facebook Messenger and late-night Zoom calls with Harold to keep their spark alive. For her, technology wasn't cold or impersonal. It became the bridge that carried her into an entirely new chapter of intimacy. When you weave these 3 ingredients together, emotional foreplay, the health benefits of love, and the surprising power of technology, you begin to see why intimacy after 60 is not fading but evolving. It's about slowing down enough to savor love, embracing the healing power of connection, and opening the door to new possibilities, even if they arrive on a glowing screen. So ask yourself, which of these ingredients speaks to you most right now? Is it the little gestures, the health benefits, or the chance to explore connection in new ways? Share your thoughts in the comments because your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Taboo talk. There's a conversation many seniors hesitate to have, even though it affects more lives than most people realize. It's the subject of sexual health after 60. For decades, society treated this topic as off-limits, almost as if passion were supposed to disappear with age. That silence left many seniors struggling in isolation, believing their concerns were too private, too shameful, or simply a part of getting old. But the truth is this: addressing sexual health openly is not only possible, it's the very key to keeping intimacy alive and thriving. Let's talk about what so many avoid. For both men and women, the body changes. Hormone levels shift, physical responses slow down, and sometimes energy isn't what it used to be. These changes can feel discouraging, but they are not the end of intimacy. Thanks to modern medicine and a growing openness in healthcare, seniors now have more options than ever before. Safe prescriptions, guided by trusted doctors, can help restore function and confidence. At the same time, natural remedies, everything from herbal supplements to lifestyle changes like exercise and diet, can boost vitality in ways that are safe and sustainable. What matters most isn't fixing the body to act like it did at 25, but supporting it so that intimacy adapts beautifully to this new stage of life. But medicine alone isn't the full answer. The deeper shift happens when partners start talking. Too often, couples go silent about their needs, either out of embarrassment or the fear of disappointing one another. Yet it's in those vulnerable conversations where someone admits, "This is harder for me now," or "I'd like to try something different," that real intimacy blossoms. When seniors talk openly with each other and, when needed, with their doctors, the shame cycle breaks. Suddenly, what felt like a private struggle becomes a shared journey, one that brings couples closer instead of pushing them apart. And here's where things get interesting. This is the part that makes everyone's eyes widen. The biggest change many seniors discover isn't physical at all. It's emotional. By talking about their needs and embracing new tools, they often find themselves more connected, more honest, and more adventurous than they were decades earlier. Intimacy becomes less about performance and more about exploration, curiosity, and joy. So let's be clear. Sexual health after 60 is not a taboo. It's a vital conversation, one that can add years of vitality to your life and depth to your relationships. And if you've been carrying unspoken questions or doubts, let this be the nudge to start talking, because the courage to speak may be the very thing that brings passion back into focus. And here's the twist. It's not what most expect. The greatest gift of tackling sexual health isn't just better intimacy. It's rediscovering that love is at its strongest when nothing is left unsaid. The surprise twist. Redefining sex after 60. When most people hear the word sex, their minds immediately jump to performance. They think of speed, energy, stamina, and the images sold in movies or magazines. But after 60, something remarkable begins to happen. Intimacy takes on a new shape. It's no longer measured by how often or how perfectly, but by how deeply and how meaningfully two people connect. This is the twist that surprises so many seniors once they step into this stage of life. Sex is not just about the act. It's about presence, touch, closeness, and even laughter. Think about it. A lingering kiss before breakfast, a shared laugh in bed, the warmth of a hand resting gently on yours. These moments are not small. They are intimacy in its purest form. What younger generations may rush through, seniors often savor. It's not about trying to replicate what intimacy once looked like decades ago. It's about embracing what it can become now, with bodies that have changed but with hearts that are more open and wise. And here's where creativity enters the picture. When physical routines shift, couples discover new ways to stay connected. A slow dance in the living room, cooking a meal side by side, reminiscing over old photographs. Each of these experiences creates intimacy that can feel just as powerful as the physical act itself. In fact, many seniors describe this stage as sweeter, because the focus moves away from proving something and toward fully experiencing something together. It's not about performance, it's about presence. This is exactly what Lucinda Ray discovered in her own journey. When she began seeing Harold, she admitted she was nervous. Would she still be desirable? Would intimacy feel awkward? But Harold's gentleness changed everything. Their connection wasn't about chasing youth. It was about celebrating life as it was. One evening, after a long conversation that stretched late into the night, Harold simply held her as she laughed and cried at the same time. And that was the moment Lucinda realized the truth. It wasn't about proving I was young again. It was about proving I was alive. That single revelation transformed how she approached love. Intimacy wasn't a test she had to pass. It was an experience she could enjoy on her own terms, with someone who valued her completely. And that's the surprise twist so many seniors eventually discover. When you broaden the definition of sex, you don't lose intimacy. You gain more of it. More laughter, more closeness, more freedom to express love without fear. So if you've ever worried that passion fades with age, take Lucinda's words to heart. Intimacy after 60 isn't about recreating yesterday. It's about creating something new, something richer, and something deeply alive today. Let's pause here for a moment, because this conversation isn't just about Lucinda Ray's story or even the research. It's about you. Yes, you watching right now. You've lived through decades of love, loss, lessons, and laughter. Your story carries a truth no one else can tell, and chances are, someone out there desperately needs to hear it. So let me ask you directly. What does intimacy mean to you after 60? Is it the quiet joy of holding hands during a morning walk? Is it romance? The surprise of a kiss that still makes your heart race? Is it laughter? The kind that makes you both feel years younger in an instant? Or maybe, just maybe, it's all of the above. Because here's the thing. Intimacy after 60 isn't a single definition carved in stone. For some, it's about rediscovering touch. For others, it's about conversations that go deeper than ever before. And for many, it's about the small, seemingly ordinary rituals that create extraordinary closeness, like sharing coffee at sunrise, dancing in the kitchen, or falling asleep to the sound of each other's breathing. But this channel isn't meant to be a one-way conversation. It's a gathering place for real voices, for seniors who want to be seen, heard, and celebrated. That's why your comment matters more than you think. When you share your perspective, you aren't just typing into a box. You're opening a door for someone else who might be sitting alone right now, wondering if love or intimacy is still possible for them. Imagine the comfort they could feel seeing your words, your wisdom, your courage. So take a moment and drop your answer below. What's intimacy to you after 60? Romance, touch, laughter, or all of the above? There's no right or wrong answer. Only your truth, and your truth could inspire another person's tomorrow. Don't hold back. The most powerful part of this community is when voices come together, when stories echo across the comments, reminding us all that intimacy is alive, vibrant, and real at every stage of life. So let's open up this conversation and keep it going, because your story matters more than you know. When we first met Lucinda Ray, her world had quieted to a near whisper. The stage lights of her jazz days had dimmed, and the applause that once lifted her spirit had become a memory she carried in silence. She described her life as gray, not in bitterness, but in acknowledgement of a loneliness she had never expected. Retirement, 2 divorces, and the empty spaces left behind by those who once filled her life had created a weight she struggled to carry. She feared invisibility, not because she lacked beauty or worth, but because society had a way of treating women her age like shadows. But look at Lucinda now. The transformation wasn't overnight, and it wasn't the work of a miracle. Rather, it was the steady unfolding of a woman who dared to say yes again. When she accepted Harold's hand at that senior dance, she wasn't just agreeing to a waltz. She was stepping back into her own story. And as days turned into weeks, something remarkable happened. Her daughter noticed it first. "Mom, you're glowing again," she said during a Sunday call. Friends who hadn't heard her laugh in years suddenly heard the sparkle return to her voice. Even Lucinda's reflection in the mirror seemed different, less tired, more alive, like someone who had rediscovered the rhythm of her own song. Her before and after is not measured in photographs, but in presence. Before Harold, her evenings were spent scrolling through old memories. After Harold, her evenings were filled with music again, even if it was just a Bluetooth speaker playing in her living room while the 2 of them danced in their socks. Before, she often went to bed early just to escape the long silence. After, she stayed up late talking, sharing stories, or simply holding hands on the couch, savoring the intimacy of being wanted. The shift in Lucinda is the heart of this chapter. She learned that intimacy after 60 isn't about recreating what was lost, it's about embracing what's possible now. Her confidence returned, her passion reignited, and her health even improved. She slept better, smiled more, and carried herself with a vitality that made people stop and take notice again. The key takeaway here is simple but profound. Love and intimacy don't expire. They evolve, they adapt, and for many, like Lucinda, they deepen into something richer than youth could ever offer. In fact, for countless seniors across the US, intimacy at this stage of life isn't about holding on to the past. It's about writing a new, bolder chapter, one filled with joy, connection, and yes, passion. Lucinda's story is proof that it's never too late to feel alive again. Her glow isn't just about romance. It's about reclaiming the truth that no one becomes invisible unless they stop shining. And the beauty is, every single one of us still has the power to shine. The journey we've walked together in this video isn't really about Lucinda Ray alone. It's about what her story represents for millions of seniors across the US and around the world. Her transformation from loneliness to vitality, from silence to laughter, from invisibility to being truly seen again, is a reminder that intimacy and love after 60 aren't just possible, they're powerful. And the dramatic resolution is this: the secret isn't about chasing youth. It's about embracing love where you are, with all the wisdom and tenderness that age has given you. Think about it. When you were younger, intimacy might have been wrapped in urgency or performance. But now, after decades of living, learning, and growing, it becomes something else. Something richer, slower, deeper. It's not about proving you're still 25. It's about proving you're still alive, still capable of love, laughter, and intimacy in ways that matter far more than appearances. And that truth, my friends, is worth celebrating every single day. But here's the important part. You don't have to keep this to yourself. The beauty of this community, right here on Senior Relationship After 60, is that we are breaking the silence together. Too many seniors believe they are alone in their longing for connection. Too many are told, directly or indirectly, that love and intimacy expire. But your voice, your presence here, and your engagement push back against that narrative. That's why I want to pause and remind you. If this touched you, if you felt Lucinda's story echo something inside your own, don't just watch. Hit that like button right now. It may feel small, but every like pushes this message further so more seniors can discover it, so more voices can be heard, so fewer people feel invisible. And let's go further, share this video. Maybe you know a friend, a sibling, or even someone in your community who's quietly struggling with loneliness, who secretly wonders if their best years are behind them. Sending them this could be the spark of hope they need, the reminder that it's not too late to feel loved, wanted, and alive again. Finally, if you're ready for more real conversations about love, sex, romance, and intimacy after 60, then this is your space. Hit that subscribe button and join us here on Senior Relationship After 60. This isn't just a channel, it's a movement. It's about rewriting the narrative of what it means to age with passion, connection, and joy. Because your best chapter, it doesn't sit behind you, it starts now. And together we're going to make sure it's a story worth telling.